Why does he do it, Grandad?
Don't know, sunshine. Did you get my letter?
I did, yeah. But I'm sorry, honestly, it's not going to happen.
Wondering if you fancied going for a drink.
Just me and you.
It's compulsion, isn't it?
£50 on Crimson Tide, please. Just a bit of fun.
We can't afford to live in our house anymore.
He'll never learn him, will he?
How can we get them back together, Grandad?
Sunshine continues. Tuesday at 9 on BBC One. See the first episode on BBC iPlayer.
I was so nearly born an American. I came that close. I've been curious to discover more about the world of my other self.
I and a trusty London cab will be visiting each and every one of the 50 of the United States of America.
I really don't know if anything sums up America better. It's simultaneously preposterous, wonderful, American.
Take the ultimate road trip. Stephen Fry in America. Tomorrow at 9 on BBC One.
It takes an heroic amount of determination and an heroic amount of time. It takes someone special.
Someone special, like Joe, who does whatever it takes to raise money for a place like this, so a whole new generation of gymnasts can succeed.
BBC Sports Personality of the Year wants you to nominate your unsung sporting hero, someone who gives their time and dedication to sport in your area. Nominate now at bbc.co.uk/sportsunsunghero.
The BBC News now on BBC One with Ben Brown.
On the brink of meltdown, a dire warning on the world's financial system from the IMF. It comes as finance ministers from the biggest economies meet in Washington to find a way out of the crisis. A trip to Reykjavik by the boss of BHS and Topshop, Sir Philip Green, is looking to buy up Icelandic-owned high street chains. Also in Iceland, UK negotiators who say they're making significant progress on getting back British deposits from collapsed banks. And Wayne eases the pain as England overcome a slow start to beat Kazakhstan. Hello, very good evening to you. The head of the International Monetary Fund has warned the world's financial system is on the brink of systemic meltdown. It comes as President Bush has been meeting finance ministers from the group of 7 leading industrialised nations at the White House. Among them, the Chancellor Alistair Darling, who said new measures will be announced early next week. From Washington, our North America business correspondent Greg Wood.
The lights were burning well before dawn in the White House as finance ministers from the world's 7 leading economies arrived to brief President Bush on their plan to save the global financial system. The president emerged at first light to applaud what he called their decisive action.
We will stand together in addressing this threat to our prosperity. We will do what it takes to resolve this crisis, and the world's economy will emerge stronger as a result.
The agreement reached by the G7 finance ministers includes a promise to take all necessary steps to unfreeze credit and money markets, to ensure that banks can raise new capital from their governments as well as private investors, and that guarantees of bank deposits are robust and consistent between countries. This G7 plan, outlined on just one sheet of paper, contains nothing that's entirely new, and no details of how and when the various measures to support the banks will be implemented. In that sense, it falls short of what the financial markets were looking for. But the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Alistair Darling, promised that more real action was on the way.
I announced the principles that will underpin our approach, that will help people, help businesses by getting bank lending going again. What we're doing over the weekend is looking at the specifics. How do we implement it? And we'll be making an announcement at the beginning of the week.
The Chancellor and the other finance ministers are desperate to avoid a repeat of last week, when world markets went into freefall, with the Nikkei in Japan losing nearly a quarter of its value, the FTSE 100 in London down 20%, and the Dow Jones average on Wall Street plunging by 18%. But as they concluded their meetings in Washington, the G7 ministers received a rebuff from their host, the International Monetary Fund. Its head, Dominique Strauss-Kahn, said that the global financial system was on the brink of meltdown and that rich countries had not done enough to restore confidence. Not much grounds for optimism then, when the markets resumed trading on Monday.
And we can talk to Greg live in Washington now. Greg, this warning from the IMF that the global financial system's on the brink of meltdown sounds very dramatic. How seriously should we take that?
I think we should take it very seriously, Ben. The IMF was really the only organisation which predicted the financial crisis, though not its full extent. So it speaks with real authority. It has 185 member countries. It advises governments on economic policies. It has hundreds of billions of dollars available to lend. So it's not just a talking shop. Its chief, Dominique Strauss-Kahn, is a former finance minister of France, so he should know what he's talking about. And I think that others in positions of power, privately, share his views. These comments are not calculated to reassure the financial markets, but they shouldn't be discounted lightly.
OK, Greg Wood, thank you very much indeed. Well, here the Treasury says significant progress is being made in efforts to recover British money held in collapsed Icelandic banks. Meanwhile, the retail tycoon Sir Philip Green has confirmed that he's in talks to buy part of the Icelandic group Bauer, owner of Hamleys and House of Fraser in the UK. Sir Philip already owns BHS and Topshop. From Reykjavik, Clive Murray reports.
Are you going to buy both?
Sir Philip Green stuck for words.
No comment.
A microphone and cameras, the last thing the billionaire expected on a shopping trip to Iceland.
Philip, are you going to buy both?
And the man holding the door, one of the richest men in the country, Jon Johansson, chairman of a major company caught up in Iceland's banking crisis that Sir Philip has his eyes on. A little later, the wealthy Brit perhaps looks a little uncomfortable. Is it because his chauffeur is late? Or that his buying spree has been rumbled?
Yeah.
Sir Philip wants to buy parts of Iceland's Boiga Group, which owns some of Britain's best-known high street brands, including Hamleys Toy Store, the House of Fraser, Karen Millen and Oasis. Globally, it has an annual turnover of £5 billion, owns 3,700 stores worldwide and employs 53,000 staff. It's no surprise that someone like Sir Philip Green may be over here checking out the lie of the land. With numerous Icelandic businesses in debt because of the current banking crisis, there could be plenty of bargains around. For the right investor, Iceland is now one giant supermarket.
Sir Philip and his family personally own Arcadia and BHS, so they don't have to pay any dividends to shareholders. They can retain all the profits themselves, and that's exactly what he's done. He's got something like £2 billion sitting there in the bank, and under the current circumstances, cash is king.
But it's not just Sir Philip Green who's been visiting Iceland from the UK. This delegation from the Treasury, meeting their Icelandic counterparts, is trying to safeguard billions of pounds frozen in Icelandic banks belonging to UK depositors. And the talks yielded some good news for those with money in the stricken bank IceSave. The Treasury has announced significant progress was made on retail depositors, with arrangements agreed in principle for an accelerated payout. The crisis in global banking clearly causing heartache for some, opportunities for others. Clive Murray, BBC News in Reykjavik.
There's been a new warning about how the dramatic falls on the stock market could affect people saving for their retirement. The Pensions Advisory Service says millions of people with shares-based schemes may not be aware of the risks. Joe Lynham has the details.
Peter Ambrose has a money purchase pension, but didn't even realise how much his retirement fund was tied to movements on the stock exchange.
Obviously, when you see these large figures, unprecedented words like this, you sort of think, oh, well, that's bad, but there's a massive disconnect between what you see on television and your own life.
So, should we be worried? Well, people on a final salary scheme should worry less, since their employer will be forced to shoulder much of the risk. But those on a money purchase or defined benefit scheme, that's 5.5 million people, could see their nest egg going down, at least in the short term. And if you don't specify when you join how much risk you'd like to take, you'll be automatically put onto a default scheme, which invests up to 100% of your money in shares for the first few years.
My concern is that people think a default fund has been recommended to them and that is appropriate to them personally, which it may not be, because they may be 100% invested in shares, but they may actually be taking more risk than they actually know about and are comfortable with.
But the markets have had an impact. If you paid in £24,000 over 10 years, it would have been worth £31,000 9 months ago, but only £21,500 now, a loss of nearly £10,000. But pension fund companies say that those people nearing retirement won't be affected by the recent falls on the stock markets. That's because their pension pot is moved out of risky equities and into cash towards the end of the policy.
The current practice of investing in equities and switching out in the years before retirement is one that does provide people both with growth in their pension fund and protection.
Over the long term, it's been shown that equities are a good form of investment. But in these volatile times, concerned pension holders should check what their money is being invested in and, if necessary, ensure no unwarranted risks are being taken. Joe Lynham, BBC News.
Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe has handed out key ministerial posts to members of his own party. Mr Mugabe now controls 14 ministries. The opposition Movement for Democratic Change says his actions endanger the recent power-sharing agreement. The US State Department has announced that it's to remove North Korea from its list of countries sponsoring terrorism. Officials made the announcement after North Korea agreed to a series of verification measures over its nuclear facilities. An inquiry in Alaska has found that the Republican vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin abused her power as governor. It says she broke rules on ethics by trying to have her former brother-in-law fired as a state trooper. Well, with just over 3 weeks to go before the US election, Democrats are hoping it may damage the Republican campaign. Rajesh Mirchandani reports from Alaska.
Sarah Palin has become known around the world as she campaigns for the highest office. But in this building in her home state, politicians have questioned her ability to lead. This committee authorised an investigation into whether a personal dispute led her to sack a public official. For 7 hours, they debated the investigators' report before making it public. More than 1,000 pages of this report remain confidential, but this is what they released, and it includes the key findings from the investigator, that Governor Sarah Palin abused her power. It says Sarah Palin acted unethically when she and her husband Todd applied pressure to have a state trooper sacked. The trooper had had a bitter divorce with Mrs. Palin's sister. Political opponents think voters will take note.
I believe in the electoral process. I believe that these findings may help people come to a conclusion on how they should vote.
The report says not all Governor Palin's actions in this investigation were improper. The Republican Party says she's been vindicated by it. Still, even her supporters wonder about the effect.
The question that people are going to be continually asking is just like you've asked. Is she trustworthy? Is she credible? Is she have the integrity that she maintains that she has?
Alaska's politicians must decide what action to take next. But very soon, the voters will decide Sarah Palin's fate.
Rajesh Mirchandani reporting there from Alaska. Well, now with all the day's sport, including news of football's World Cup qualifiers, here's Sean Fletcher. Hi, Sean.
Ben, thanks very much indeed. Yes, all of the home nations have been in action today. I'll have news of Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland in just a moment. But first, England beat Kazakhstan 5-1 at Wembley. For almost an hour, though, Fabio Capello's side were frustrated by one of the minnows of world football before completing their third straight win of the campaign. James Munro reports.
Wembley was built to be a fortress for England's footballers, but in recent times the players have often felt besieged by their own fans, frustrated at a lack of success. So it was after a first half of no goals and few chances against lowly Kazakhstan. Theo Walcott, the only bright spark, as the team was booed off.
Frustration for England. We've been here before.
Appropriate then that it was England's captain Rio Ferdinand who should rise to the rescue and break the deadlock.
And Ferdinand has found it.
An own goal followed, but England still weren't safe.
Oh no, here's an opportunity.
Ashley Cole's defensive howler letting Jambil Kukayev in for Kazakhstan. With 14 minutes left, Wayne Rooney spared Cole Splashes.
Rooney! It'll do!
And eased England's discomfort.
That's definitely Wayne Rooney's goal.
Points secured, the Manchester United striker scored a second. And there was still time for Jermaine Defoe to make it 5-1.
5 for England.
So, on paper, a rout, but in reality, far from it.
At this stage, it's about 3 points, and that's what everyone was harping on about during the week leading up to the game, and we've done that. Kazakhstan made it a bit sticky for us in the first half, defended very, very well in numbers, but we knew once we started playing and getting the chances and relaxing in the final third, we'd break them down, and that's the way it ended.
That scoreline probably flattered England, but it was enough to send these fans home happy. And it leaves the team top of their group as they head to Belarus for their next qualifier on Wednesday. James Munro, BBC News, Wembley.
It's time to leave the room for viewers in Scotland who want to watch the full highlights of their match against Norway here on BBC One after the news. It was a disappointing 0-0 draw. Both sides missed chances to win it, though. The result leaves their manager George Burley and his team plenty to do if they're to qualify for South Africa in 2010. Wales beat Liechtenstein 2-0 at the Millennium Stadium, but they struggled to break down their lowly opponents. Approaching half-time, the match was still 0-0, but Fulham's Simon Davis set up the Wolves midfielder David Edwards, who broke the deadlock with his first international goal. And then 10 minutes from time, the Manchester City striker Ched Evans had a header deflected into the goal to confirm the victory for Wales. Northern Ireland are still searching for their first win of the campaign after a defeat away to Slovenia. With 10 minutes to go, the match was heading for a draw when the home side scored 2 late goals to leave Nigel Worthington's side with just 1 point from 3 games. It's the opening weekend of Rugby Union's Heineken Cup, European Club Rugby's showpiece tournament. There were no fewer than 7 games today, and one of them was the final match in Europe at the Scarlets' famous old ground in Llanelli, Stradey Park. But it wasn't a happy farewell. Ollie Foster reports.
The Scarlets are moving next month after almost 130 years at Stradey Park, but this is one of the matches they'd like to erase from that history. They were 19-3 up at half-time, then threw it away as Harlequins stormed back. Chris Malone scored 19 points with the boot and provided the kick for Hugo Monye's decisive second-half try that sealed the win. Murrayfield should be a full house for the Heineken Cup final next May. There were 60,000 empty seats for Edinburgh against Leinster, though, as the home side folded against the Celtic League champions. Brian O'Driscoll with one of their 4 first-half tries. Strangely, there were no more after the break for Leinster, but they'd done more than enough. Gloucester were quarter-finalists in this competition last season. Just getting out of the pool stages could be tricky this time. They beat Biarritz, but James Simpson-Daniel scored their only try, and as the French pushed hard in the second half, with Jean-Baptiste Gobelet going over, there were some nervous moments at Kingsholm. Ollie Barkley gave them some breathing space, but the final whistle was welcome, and there's plenty of room for improvement before they head to the Millennium Stadium next weekend to play the Cardiff Blues. Ollie Foster, BBC News.
And there were also wins for Sale, Cardiff Blues, Newport Gwent Dragons and Stade Francais. Lewis Hamilton will start tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix from pole position. The McLaren driver is aiming to extend his 7-point lead in the title race with only the Chinese and Brazilian Grand Prix to go. His closest rival, Felipe Massa, is 5th on the grid.
He was given the most monumental challenge by the...
And that's all the sport. Ben.
Sean, thank you very much indeed. And the main news again. As talks go on in Washington to solve the global financial crisis, the head of the International Monetary Fund has warned the world's financial system is on the brink of systemic meltdown. Well, there's news throughout the night on the BBC News channel, but from us, good night.
If it had been up to me,
this presidential election,
we would have never been in this war.
Isn't like other elections.
We will never surrender. They will. I promise you, they will.
How has history shaped their stand on war? The American Future, A History by Simon Sharma. Friday at 9 on BBC Two.
Hello there. There's more warm sunshine on the way tomorrow. Eventually, it could start off rather grey and for some of us quite foggy tomorrow. It will gradually brighten up and we'll see some more sunshine in the afternoon. At the moment, though, we've still got this band of cloud from Wales to the Humber. That's not going anywhere, but the rain will tend to peter out. It's in the south that it will turn really quite foggy overnight, some dense patches. The odd patch of fog further north for Scotland and Northern Ireland, where it's going to be cold underneath the clearer skies. Some sunshine here, the fog lifting quickly. The fog in the south, though, will take some time to clear away, lifting into low cloud through the morning and then gradually brightening up in the afternoon with some sunshine. It's an improving story. We'll see some patchy cloud in the Midlands and some sunshine in the afternoon. 17 degrees in Birmingham. Some sunshine at times in northern England. It may turn more cloudy in Cumbria and around the Dumfries and Galloway area. It will turn a little more hazy, that sunshine in Scotland and Northern Ireland as the cloud increases. Rain in the northwest of Scotland. It should stay dry and bright in Northern Ireland. And we'll see the cloud thinning and breaking in Wales, so more sunshine coming through. And for the southwest of England, it looks pretty good in the afternoon. Some warm sunshine here. And I suspect right the way across southern England we'll see lots of sunshine in the afternoon and a warm 20 or 21 Celsius again in London. For Monday, though, a lot of clouds, some rain for southern Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland, sunshine in the north, much of England and Wales, dry and cloudy.
Jackie Pollard met her match in Little Britain, USA. Coming next on BBC One. They're back.
That's a zigga-zagga-zoo.
With a brand new series.
Frozen chicken! I'm glad to see you've retained your sense of humour.
It's cruel, isn't it? It's cruel.
Face bothered!
Have I got news for you?
That was good, that.
Starts Friday at 9 on BBC One. Well, now on BBC One, an update from tonight's National Lottery, starting with the winning Thunderball numbers 1, 9, 19, 26 and 30. The Thunderball is 2. Early indications show that there are no winners of the top prize. The dream number is 3, 2, 1, 1, 5, 4, 0. And there are more than 66,000 winning tickets on this game tonight. In the main lotto draw, the winning numbers are 20, 21, 23, 24, 27 and 28. The bonus ball is 33. It looks like there are 11 jackpot winning tickets, each winning just over £713,000. And finally, the daily play numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 20 and 25. And early indications show that there are over 25,000 winning tickets on this game tonight.
BBC Electric Proms. Experience 5 days of unique performances from Oasis to Burt Bacharach. Go to bbc.co.uk/electricproms. From prison to courthouse, 16 blocks away, it's a journey from hell for the cop protecting his witness. Bruce Willis stars at 10:20 on BBC One after a bus ride to boot camp.